Thank you.
There we go. Over to you, Gemma.
Thank you. It's just trying to share at the moment. Entire screen share. Oh, the window then. Okay, can you all see the slides?
Yeah.
Just shout. Yeah, great. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Fabulous. Okay, so my name's Gemma. I'm a assistive technology clinical specialist, speech and language therapist in the Barnsley Assistive Technology team. And today we're going to be introducing you to what our team do. And we're going to have a bit of a focus on AAC for people with aphasia. Oh, sorry, the date is not correct. I will change that. So the objectives, to be able to define the role of the local and the specialised services in the provision of AAC and environmental control. So we'll very briefly mention environmental control too. Understand the specialised AAC service referral criteria, recognise strong candidates for referral to the Barnsley Assistive Technology team, and identify alternative options and routes for those who would not be appropriate. Be aware of a range of AAC tools that can support people with aphasia, both mainstream and specialist, and can't quite read that. Understand different page design and layout options and who these may work best for.
Emma, just to say the presentation is not following. I think you need to press from the beginning and then just move the presentation on.
I'm so sorry. Right. So I wonder whether I've not shared it properly. I'll just share it again and try entire screen. I tried to click entire screen and it won't let me click that one. I'll just.
If you press from the beginning on your PowerPoint, that might do it. At the top left-hand corner.
Okay.
When you share.
Yeah, so it did say from beginning. I think it's something to do with Zoom. It's
as long as you move through the presentation, we can see it. It's fine. Yeah.
You can you see the different slides as they come up? Is that where is it going through the different slides?
We can't see it at the moment. No, we can't see it at the moment.
Okay. I think I've managed to share my entire screen now. Okay. From
fine.
Beginning, and then yes. This was the slide. So that was the first one. Did you see that one? Can you see it moving?
That's working perfect now. Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, thank you for letting me know. Sorry about this. Right, so we're only on the third slide, so hopefully not missed too much. So yes, a little bit about our referral criteria. But firstly, what is assistive technology? So as you are a service that support people who use therapy apps, this might be something you're very familiar with already, but I thought I'd just give you a little bit of an overview. So assistive technology is technology to support people with their communication. It can be to support them with controlling things in their home, like their lights, their TV, their phone. We support people who'd like access to their computer or to gaming, where it might be difficult to use more mainstream options. And we also support people who use their wheelchair controllers as a way of connecting with a computer or a phone. So we support people with physical disabilities who may benefit from alternative ways to access things like computers and games and environmental controls, as well as the communication side of things. So the Barnsley Assistive Technology team, we work alongside local professionals. So you would be the local professional in our relationship here. So we're the specialised service, and then local professionals are the people who are. It might be a speech and language therapist, and it might be, like in the case, volunteers, like local professionals, to enhance the quality of life and independence of individuals with severe disabilities. And that could be physical disabilities, but it could be more of a communication difficulty as well. Provide assessments for AAC, which stands for Alternative and more Augmentative Communication, i.e. communication aids, and environmental controls. This includes some computer access assessments. We manufacture and fit wheelchair mounting. So sometimes that can be really beneficial. Like, for example, after a stroke, people can have hemiplegia, which means it can be hard to maybe hold something and then press the screen with the other hand. So things like wheelchair mounting can be really handy as a way of not needing to hold on to the device while using it. And we mount and different things as well. It could be wheelchairs, it might be across their bed, it might be on their table. We provide assessments throughout the Yorkshire and Humber region. So the region that you work in is one that we cover. And we work with suppliers and contractors as well as part of our service. And we're involved in the development of new technologies and research projects all the time. So, for example, a few years ago, we were involved in a switch. The switch is something you can use to interact with a computer as an alternative to using a mouse or a touch screen. And we were supporting with like a very sensitive switch that works by like a muscle movement. So placing it on any part of the person's body for them to slightly tense a muscle to control technology. So that can be really helpful for people who've got more limited movement. So that's one example. We provide training, such as like we're doing today. We present at conferences such as the Communication Matters Conference and the British Aphasiology Symposium. And we encourage service users to present their stories and teach us a thing or two. We have service user representatives as well in our team, people who themselves have experience of a disability and communication difficulties and use communication aids, and that's been really helpful. Clients who really enjoy meeting them and getting their perspective on things that they find helpful. So that's a bit of a nutshell of what we do and things we do to support local teams. So we have like a clinical supervision group, so we can support people who are who want to have support, peer support, for example. We're looking at getting together a group for people, for example, who want to support each other with talking about aphasia and AAC. So that's just been sent out in the newsletter recently. So if anyone here is interested in that, that would be an opportunity for. I think it might be more like if you're involved in assessments, that might be something that might be of interest to you. So an opportunity to share cases and talk about that, and we supervise that. We have an inquiries line, so people can contact us and email us if they are thinking, oh, is this person suitable for referral or for other advice? It might be maybe just advice about AAC in general. We're here to help. We have a technical support team. So that's if somebody has equipment from us, it's maintained by the technical support team. So they're available to contact for any help with that. Training as well, we offer training. We help local services sometimes with their care pathway development. They might need some advice on ideas for example, how would you recommend like getting some funding for local funding or maintaining equipment. So we were recently involved in a project around helping local services have like a bank with a loan. It was like the loan bank project. So we were helping local services develop a bit more of the pathway to be able to issue more equipment that wouldn't meet our criteria. So having their own kind of resources to do that and their own to kind of get that started. So we do things like that. And this is the area that we cover. So it's quite a big area. This is just something I just wanted to mention, that we do provide powered communication aids. but we promote all forms of AAC, so it's a total communication approach. And so the 4Ps stand for paper-based AAC, things like symbol books, photos, communication chart. Powered is like computers that speak out messages when you select items on the screen, or by, for example, a switch, or other ways they might interact with the technology. Partner is the strategies of the partner. So say, for example, the wife of the patient, what they do to help that person with their communication. Do they give them time? Do they encourage strategies? Things like that. And then person is what strategies the person does, which I'm sure this big part of your role too is looking at that person's strategy. So things like gesture, body language, supporting. So we look at those as well as the powered AAC. We do try and support people to think about the other aspects too, and sometimes it might be more appropriate other strategies. So when to refer to us, when the person, partner, or paper-based strategies are not enough and they're not meeting their communication needs, or where somebody needs more complex communication assessment. So for example, it might be that they are struggling to access the strategies they have because of a physical disability, or they might need more vocabulary, more words than the systems they have allow, so they need a more complex assessment to explore more complex options. And then this is a useful resource that gives you suggestions for how to, what things you could consider when looking at whether assessing for AAC and referring to our team. So definitely recommend having a look at that link. And this is a little screenshot of one of the pages from it. So looking at the characteristics, for example, of the person, such as looking at their understanding, and it gives some ideas, for example, about how you could assess somebody's understanding, if maybe it's more difficult to do that for them with their hands, to point to maybe pictures, look at alternative ways you could look at assessing that. So the referral form requests information to be completed about, for example, their understanding and their expressive language. So this gives some suggestions about how ways you might be able to find out that information. So yes, that's something I recommend to have a look at. So referring to our team, the referral criteria. The official referral criteria is an individual of whom a specialised AAC service is needed would have a severe, complex communication difficulty, which may be associated with physical, cognitive, learning, or sensory deficits. So they don't need to also have a physical, cognitive, learning, or sensory difficulties. It might be the communication difficulty is their main difficulty, because I'm aware that sometimes after a stroke, people might not necessarily, that might not be, there might be more communication than other factors. But yes, it can be associated with a range of other difficulties, and a clear discrepancy between their understanding and ability to speak. So somebody, for example, was understanding single word level, or maybe struggling to understand at single word level, they would not likely meet the criteria to be referred to us, because they would probably not benefit from a more complex vocabulary, we'd call it, like the amount of words on in a communication aid. It would probably be too complex for their needs. They may benefit more from something that the layout to be more matching that level of understanding. So it's about that gap. So if they express more than they understand, and that might be non-verbally, they show you through their signs that they can, they understand more than they express. That's what I meant. And in addition, they must be able to understand the purpose of a communication aid. They must be able to understand what it's for. And sometimes that can be quite tricky actually with people with aphasia, because I do find that sometimes they can see the communication aid as a therapy app. So that's probably something to try and support them with when you're looking at referral, try and help them understand the difference there. But if you think there's potential for them with support to understand that difference, that's fine too. They need to have developed a beyond a cause and effect understanding. So cause and effect is like, if I do something, this happens, and knowing that that might happen. So to use AAC, you need to be able to do that, because a lot of it is involved like pressing an icon on the screen and it speaking out a message. So you need to understand that if I press that, a message is going to be played. And have experience of using low-tech AAC, so what we call paper-based AAC, which is insufficient to enable them to realise their communicative potential. So like I said before, like for example, if they had a communication book or some charts and it was felt that that's not helping them meet their potential, they've got a lot more they want to communicate, it limits them. That could be an example, or whether it could be that it's really hard for them to use too. Maybe they're struggling to turn the pages and point because of some physical difficulties. So they could be reasons to refer to us. So the
Gemma, can
exclusion,
I just ask a question?
of course.
Um, Brilliant. So on our iPads that we loan out, we have Let Me Talk and we have Clarocom. So and I remember the referral criteria in the past has been that people should try and make use of these. These would be an example of a kind of low-tech introduction to a communication aid. Would you recommend that people try those first, and if they want to explore it further, and if they meet the other parts of the criteria, we could refer on at that point?
So I wouldn't call them low tech. I would still call them like powered, because it's technology, whereas what would have formerly we would have called low tech, but we try and call paper based now, is things like books, charts. So the apps I would still consider them powered, but they can be useful to get a picture about how someone might be able to manage an app, and that might give you the information to look at whether that person could be referred to us. So sometimes people refer to us and say, oh, we tried Let Me Talk, and the person could go through the categories and pick words, they showed that potential, and then that gives you a bit of evidence to refer to
Yeah,
us. In terms of whether you would keep that in place long term for the person, I guess that's whether you and the client feel that that works for them. If that's kind of meeting their needs potentially, but
yeah,
if you think it's maybe a bit limiting, then you could refer to us.
yeah. Oh,
Um, but we'll definitely go through some things a bit later on as well that might be helpful, other options too. And then the other one was Claricom. So Claricom, so if somebody is literate and they can directly type on a screen, they wouldn't meet our criteria. So sometimes people do use Claricom, and that is sufficient to meet their communication needs. But if you found that, for example, that person has spelling difficulties, or they find it difficult to write sentences because of the way the aphasia affects their language, or they have word finding difficulties when they're trying to write, these are all potential reasons to look at symbols. And then that might be might be that they need a referral to us to look at something more advanced than like Let Me Talk. Does that
yeah,
help?
yeah. That does. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
No, thank
great.
you.
But you're always welcome to contact our team. For individual cases, if you that's what we're here for as well. We do have that inquiries line, so people do contact us and go, "Oh, I've got this client at the moment. I'm just not sure," and that's what we're here for, to help. So the exclusion criteria for AAC is if somebody is communication skills at a pre-verbal level, so they're not really using any kind of language to communicate. It's more maybe their understanding as well is pre-verbal, so it's more they're interacting by in response, like body language, like maybe there it's I'm trying to describe it. Have you come across pre-verbal? So it's where somebody probably has quite a a severe stroke, and they're not really making communication attempts with language. It's more maybe they respond to you with a bit of body language, but their understanding is at quite a lower level. They've not achieved cause and effect understanding. They've got impaired cognitive abilities that would prevent them from retaining information on how to use equipment. So sometimes people do have cognitive abilities and they can use AAC, but if it's more like affecting their ability to learn, for example, if they have memory difficulties, it mean that they would find it hard to learn to use something. And then, as I said, using their hands to type a message on an alphabet. And we prioritise referrals too. So if somebody's got a degenerative condition, for example, we have people with MND and they often get prioritised because it can be very it can progress very quickly. People with psychological impact as well, maybe like they're really struggling psychologically, and they need this communication aid might help alleviate some of that. Or transitions might be, for example, they had a communication aid, but then they moved to a different service and everything's changed and it's not kind of gone smoothly. So, or transitions are upcoming, and things like that can be reasons to prioritise. Just a little bit about what's useful to consider, things that I felt anecdotally are useful. So in terms of thinking about the layout, like their receptive language ability, so that's useful for us to know about, like how much they understand. So sometimes people will send us, it's really helpful, if we get assessment information as well, sometimes people might send us like, we did a spoken word to sentence, sentence to picture matching task, and they manage this at this level. So that's kind of useful to know what their understanding is like, or how many keywords they understand, how effective their current means of communication are. So how they manage them with their body language, for example, their speech, their cognitive skills, sensory skills such as vision, hearing, what they want to communicate about, what's motivating for them. Is it a wide range of topics? How the person will physically operate it. So consider, would it potentially need mounting? Might they need a different way of accessing it? And it's not that we're expecting you to come up with the answers, but if you in the referral could let us know if you think, directly using a screen seems hard for this person, so I think they might need something different, and then we can support with that. And then if you think maybe they might benefit from a certain size or being quite portable. I've had people in the past, for example, like things that are quite small that they can put in their pocket. So things like that. And then looking at the environment, so who will support it, the people around the person, and the opportunities to use it. So they're all useful things to consider. And so if in doubt, contact our team, we can discuss the referral. And then here's a link to our referral form, and you can email it to this NHSnet email, which is secure. Just a little thing, just a little something about kind of our anecdotal kind of observations of from AAC assessment. So things that I think can really help the person, and I think with people with aphasia as well, is in terms of person factors. So the person being motivated to communicate, understanding the role of AAC, and then having realistic expectations about what it might do for them, being able to identify their own goals in terms of what they'd like to, where they'd like to communicate, for example, what they'd like to communicate about, and being able to understand and retain instructions. So these are all things that are really helpful, and we can support people to work towards this. But if somebody's got the potential with these, that can be really helpful in terms of their progress with AAC. The environment, so having somebody who's as a champion, somebody who really can advocate for the person who uses AAC. So that might be in, for example, a care home setting, somebody who's really interested in AAC and is happy to like support other people to get on board with training, and really good at modelling how to use the device and supporting the person, being aware of their goals, well trained in using AAC and support and maintaining it. So maintaining might be, for example, updating it. So if it needs new words, the person might have new family members or hobbies they want to add or new TV shows they enjoy. So the person helping update it, because if it's not updated, it might not be relevant after so long, and that could demotivate the person using it. Accepting the limits of AAC and embracing a range of strategies. So AAC, especially with people with aphasia, I like to see it as a tool to support total communication. Sometimes I've been in situations where I've gone into somebody's home and the communication partner is sat on the other end of the room and they don't really know how they can get involved to help that person, or they see it as, oh, well, the person's got this iPad now, so go ahead and tell me what you want. And I have to try and explain to them it's not really just designed for that. You need to kind of sit with the person and help them go through it together. It's a total communication strategy. And people with aphasia often need support because of the way the aphasia affects their language and and sometimes their cognition. I don't think that there's many cases where I've seen somebody use it fully independently, because I think it is more of a joint kind of tool, really, which works better in that situation where we can model with the person and embrace all the strategies they might use. So they might, for example, I've seen some really lovely examples of people who maybe use gesture a little bit and a little bit of speech, and then they finish the message with the device. So they might say, oh, I went, to maybe gesture that and then click on shops, and then maybe they might gesture what they got from the shop. So they're using different strategies and encouraged by the environment to do that. And this links in as well, like building conversation collaboratively creates opportunities and responsive. So these are all like communication partner kind of training kind of strategies, aren't they, that you hear about in communication partner training. Partners sharing information between them. So so that kind of joint interaction. And then the system is appropriate, so it has personalized vocabulary. That's really important for people with aphasia, that it's really personalized. It's not it's more meaningful if it has words about their life in it, so their history, for example, maybe jobs they did in the past, their family. People often love to talk about their family, I find, like they talk about their grandchildren, for example, talk about what they used to do or things they really enjoy. Like I had one client who really loved cake decorating, and so we had a whole page of icing, piping, all the different features, so really quite specific to their interests. And that's more meaningful, I think, than just giving them the default thing that when you open it up by default and handing that over, it needs to be personalized. And it has the features that support that person's language. So it may be the single words, phrases, sentence building, scenes, rating scale. So we can help with that, where somebody meets our criteria, thinking about what vocabulary might be better for that person's needs. But there's so many options out there, and we'll go through a few soon. And that it's as easy as possible for them to access. So, like, for example, mounting might just help it be a bit easier for them so they don't need to hold it while pressing the screen at the same time, and means that they can maybe take it out and about with them. Is one option. It might be alternative ways to access. Sometimes we have people use eye gaze or switches or styluses, for example. It provides greater independence and it reduces frustration. So making sure we match the person to the features of the equipment can maybe help with the frustration. So the biggest barriers as well that we can find are when somebody has quite significant cognitive difficulties. That means it's hard for them to retain how to use it. One thing I've found recently, I'm working with somebody at the moment, it's their semantic, because their understanding of the meaning of the words is, I think, having a bit of an impact. So they're finding it hard. For example, they know what the animal categories, but then when we click on that, then it's harder to know the different groups of animals for this person. So I'm doing a little bit of changing of the system to try and maybe take those away. So maybe when they click on animals, it just has the key animals that person are important to that person, rather than having farm animals, zoo animals, sea animals, because the way the aphasia has affected them, that's a bit harder for them. And then I've noticed as well that a bit of memory, so we'll see how it goes for this person. Comprehension, so if somebody's finding it difficult to understand, and they might more than like a few keywords, they might find some of the systems a bit harder to use. And then mood can have an impact. Sometimes people find it hard to adjust to using AAC, or for other reasons. It might mean that they are, finding it hard to practice using the equipment because of how they're feeling. And then lack of support is a big one, I think. Like I said before, sometimes people have these expectations that this device is going to come in, it's going to completely change everything, and they don't necessarily need to be doing lots of support alongside it. And that's why I say, like, it is a joint tool. It's not really designed to be used on its own to support that person. The people around the person are really important. These are the outcomes of our assessment. So we provide equipment where somebody meets the provision criteria, which, for example, that they're showing they're motivated to use it, they're managing to use it, they're showing that they're using it to communicate. We're getting examples of them using it. Those are all reasons that we might provide AAC. But it might be that we recommend the local service provide something. That might be, for example, they maybe need something that's not so complex. Or it might be sometimes people self-fund their own equipment. And this is just an example of some of the ways that local funding might happen. So I don't know how it works with you not being the NHS, but in the NHS, there is individual funding requests. But also there's charities as well that you can go to for funding as well, for communication aids. So I'm just going to have a quick check of the time because I don't want to run over.
Well, I just add in here that obviously volunteers that are on the call, you'll be working with people, possibly on a one-to-one basis. And if you do feel that a communication aid might be relevant for the person that you're working with, just get in touch with us, get in touch with Steve. I suppose Steve would be your first point of contact. And any referrals that are made through to the Barnsley team will come through one of our speech therapists, so they'll put the referral in, so all the information that Gemma needs. But obviously, they'll speak to you guys because you'll know the person that you're working with very well, and obviously look at that original referral form and any assessments. So all that information for Gemma will be provided. But yeah, if you're working with someone and you think, this might be good for them, just flag it up to Steve. Yeah. Is it so basically everybody it's self-funded, everybody's self-funded. So if somebody meets your criteria, would they be expected to go down one of those funding routes?
If they meet our criteria, though, we fund it.
All
so
right.
So these options are just more if somebody doesn't meet our criteria.
Okay,
Or
all right, yeah.
if it's not, if it's not, it doesn't seem to be appropriate to have a specialised communication aid. Maybe it's maybe not meeting their needs, or maybe something else might be more suitable for them. But yes, the NHS funds the ones that where they meet the criteria. Yes. Can I just check? Sorry, is it 11 o'clock we've got until?
Yes. Is that all
Okay,
right?
great. Yeah, sorry.
Right?
I didn't want to make you run over. So I'm just gonna go through some of the AAC tools as well for the next bit. So I'll just very quickly go over this because I'm sure you're all familiar, but just as well, paper-based is really valuable, and we have some great resources on our website. The ACE Centre too have some great resources, lots of different types of communication charts and books. Recommend battery powered, and it's a bit like when we were talking about Let Me Talk. So sometimes battery-powered tools can be really helpful for people maybe who don't meet our criteria, maybe need something that's a bit less specialised, and they can be really nice tools. So have a look at those. And this is just a little bit about access. So these are some of the examples of ways we might adapt to the way that somebody accesses the equipment. So using a mouse, for example, using a stylus or a switch, or changing the layout of the keyboard. So just to go through the apps now. So the Call Scotland, which is a charity, have a wheel which goes through all the different types of apps out there. So, for example, on the right-hand side, we've got symbol-based grid systems. So they're a lot of what we use in our team. And then the hybrid and structured ones at the bottom right, some of those as well. And you can see Symbo Talk there, I think, or Let Me Talk would probably fall within that category too. And then the text-based AAC on the top right is like Claricon that you mentioned, so like those ones, keyboard-based ones. So this is a useful resource to get a bit of an overview of the different types of AAC out there. And I think it was last updated a few years ago, so they may update it again in the future, but it just gives you a nice overview. So symbol and phrase-based AAC apps. There are lots available, and they can all range in their design and complexity. So, for example, Let Me Talk is one you mentioned. So I think that one in the top left corner is Let Me Talk. So you've got like a few categories, and then the person can choose a category and choose a word within the category. So that can be quite nice for people who maybe just need to communicate a few things, maybe talk about food and family members. Maybe they don't want to build whole sentences or communicate about a wide range of topics. So Let Me Talk would enable something like that. And Symbo Talk, which is on the very top in the middle, is similar to Let Me Talk. It's just another version of a free symbol-based app that does quite similar things. So it has the categories, like, for example, the food page, the feelings page, and you can edit it as well. I think Symbo Talk I prefer to Let Me Talk, because Let Me Talk hasn't been updated for a very long time, I think. Go Talk Now, which is on the very top right. You make your own communication boards here. So this is an example template. It comes blank, but you can make your own. But it is a really nice app for people who maybe would benefit from something a bit like the Let Me Talk and Symbo Talk, where they may benefit just from a few categories. So it's thinking about that person, the skills of the person, and what they need. What do they need to communicate about? Do they maybe just to get across a few basic needs of the carers, or do they need to communicate about a lot of different things? And then we haven't got pictures of everything here, but some of the other symbol-based ones can be like Touch Chat, Proloquo to Go, TD Snap, Grid for iPad, Avaz. They're all like, they organize symbols you can use them more to create sentences. So in the bottom left corner is bottom left picture, on the far bottom left is Proloquo to Go. So that's an example where you could build a message like, I want drink, for example. So you can use them more like that, or the person might choose to just use aspects of that. You're not expected to write full sentences. It gives people the option to have that vocabulary if they need it. So hopefully that illustrates how like complex some systems can be. And then Seen and Heard is the one right in the middle. So that's more like a visual scene based app, and that can be helpful for some people who maybe going in categories is more difficult, and maybe whereas a scene overall would be more helpful for them. So we'll just go through some of these in a moment. I'll demonstrate a few. So some considerations for symbol and phrase-based AAC apps. So there's a large variation in their complexity and content. So some are more single word based. So like Let Me Talk might be more of a single word based one, more involved in sentence building. So like Proloquo to go, and then some can be more phrase based. So like, for example, in this very bottom one, we've got Voca Chat, and that is like, something is wrong. You click on something is wrong, and then with my device or something. So it gives you some sentence starters and it gives you some phrases. So that can be helpful for people maybe who find it a bit harder to build those sentences word by word, or maybe need something that does that for them for ease of use. Some can have symbols, some can have photos, some can have a bit of both. It depends on maybe the person, what you think might work better for them in terms of their recognition of symbols. Some can have lots of additional features, which we'll go through, like whiteboards, visual scenes, maps. Some help you jump to the page. So, for example, if you click eat, it might then go to the food page for you. Some are, you build your own, like Go Talk Now is completely a template, you build your own. So consider the preferences of the person and their how they navigate, how they manage with like finding categories, finding words. It must be personalised and it's part of their toolkit. But I just want to emphasise, we're here to support with this. We don't really expect local teams to be fully like looking into all the different types of apps and deciding, oh, I think this is the right one for this person, because we can help with that. You could maybe get a bit of an indication, maybe through some of the apps you have, that, oh, this person, we tried them, say with Let Me Talk, and I think they might benefit from something a bit more like Proloquo to go, or something a bit more complex. I don't think it's enough for them, and we're here to kind of continue that assessment. You can refer to us at that point. So we don't expect local teams to have like a huge bank of lots of different apps and then try and figure out which one's the best for that person, if they need something more complex. That's what we're here for. And then our text-based is more like keyboard-based apps, and there's quite a range, and I think they're a little bit more, you can see what we look like here. So you've got some with phrases and some with different types of keyboards, and some can be used for voice banking, which is quite handy for some people. And then some you can change the layout of the keyboard. Some people might like different colours, different fonts, different styles, ABC keyboard or QWERTY, so they can vary in their features in that sense.
Brian has just raised his hand, Gemma.
Oh, sorry, I can't see any hands.
It's
sorry.
okay.
Okay. I'm just wondering, does it speed up the ability of the client to respond? They might well be able to eventually string a sentence together, but using one of these, say the paper rates, does that speed up their response?
Sorry, could you one? Sorry.
Is it quicker for them to use one of those, little paper responses where they can point to various things to create a sentence than trying to, if they find it difficult to actually to speak that sentence?
It can do. It depends on the person. So, sometimes if their aphasia means it's harder to verbally get across their message with a sentence, they might find that it helps to point to different aspects of the app as a way of supporting their message. It depends on the person. Sometimes people can find these systems a bit tricky to use. It depends on their skills, and sometimes you'll only know when you try it. But it can be, I've had people who've really benefited from AAC and found it really helps when they're struggling to get across their message verbally, or something that works alongside their spoken message, their gestures.
I was just thinking that quite often the people they're trying to communicate with can get frustrated if it takes a long time to produce a sentence verbally. Whereas if this speeds it up, it might, improve the whole relationship.
Yeah, I think that's something you could look at if you have like apps available to assess, you could always look at that. And also you could try like the paper ones we talked about as well to get an indication as to whether somebody might find AAC helpful. I think one thing I'd say is that it does take a lot of practice and support. I think it might not immediately help, but it might be with a lot of support from the people around the person and some practice. It might not be straight away that it maybe quickly helps. And it depends on the person how they find it, because of like the impact of language and cognition sometimes on people. But what we hope for is that it can help, definitely.
So if we were to think, if we thought that one of these systems would help one of our clients, would we get further training in how to deliver that, how to use it?
So if you were to try something and you thought they need something more complex than maybe an app with a few single words and a few categories, you think maybe they need much more than that, I would suggest speaking to the speech therapist. Is it Gemma in your team?
We've got a number of them now, depending on areas. So for Brian, it might be Georgina actually, but the volunteers have reviews with the speech therapist at certain points. So it would be you pick it up in one of those meetings, Brian, and the answer is yes. If you're going to try and use something like Let Me Talk or Claricom, or I'm thinking of what other apps we could add on. Obviously, at this point, we'd probably only add free versions of these apps on, and then if we want to explore further, we'd pass to Gemma. But yeah, you'd get some support. But you're exactly right what you say. It's about easing that frustration into it. We've got a person with aphasia and the partner struggling to understand what the person with aphasia wants to say. Sometimes it can go on for hours, it can go on for days. I've heard this is an opportunity to ease some of that frustration into its if it's appropriate. But I've seen people using like Predictable. I've been blown away by the use of one person using Predictable, which is one of these text-based AAC apps. But it does require a lot of support to understand what words are in what categories and things like that. With some of the apps like Touch Chat that I've seen. So, yes. But yeah, that's what it's all about, Brian. It's about easing frustration, helping people to get their message across, isn't it? And that's what it's about. Yeah.
So you could try some of these, and then the speech therapist would need to do the referral because we need like the assessment information as well and their evaluation of that person's language skills. But you could maybe be involved in trying out different things and then liaising with the speech therapist, going, I think this person might need AAC. I've tried them with this, and do you think maybe a referral to Barnsley would be helpful? Or it might be that you're looking more at things within your own remit, like a keyboard-based app or something more like this Let Me Talk, or something more like this, like a battery operated or a paper system. But yes, AAC can be really beneficial to people, definitely. That support is really important around the person. That's why, and Ed just mentioned it, but yes, certainly it can be really helpful. Okay, so I just wanted to mention as well that there are aphasia specific apps that are available. So Grid 3 has one called Aphasia Duo, and it's available in 2 sizes, and it's something that you might be that you refer to us to look at something like this. This would be considered a bit of a specialized communication aid, but you might also want to explore it yourselves and for assessments. But it has lots of different tools to support the person, such as a whiteboard, so they can maybe draw to support their communication. It's got phrases about mental health, so like affirmations, positive affirmations, they can tell themselves or telling other people about mental health difficulties experiencing. It has rating scales, so giving their opinion on like a scale of 1 to 5. And then you've got some social phrases that you might use with interacting with families or carers. So it's designed to consider what's important, usually to people with aphasia. Well, it was designed in collaboration with people with aphasia. It's got topics as well, different types of topics, like what you'd see in Let Me Talk, so food, drink, people. And then it's got visual scenes. I'll just skip to the visual scene to show you what a visual scene looks like. So these are examples of visual scenes. So this is the one in this. So it's got like a scene and then phrases around the scene. And some people find it easier to use a scene to identify the things rather than going through lots of folders to find a word. They might find it easier if it's like a whole, for example, a picture of their bedroom, rather than like going, okay, chair is in the furniture category. Instead having a picture of their bedroom and going, oh, chair, that's my chair, that's my bed, that's my photo of my wife, etc. It depends on the person in terms of their skills and what works for them. Toby Dynafox have another one called TD Snap, which has some similar features. It's got visual scenes, it's got a whiteboard, it has words organised by topic, it has phrases in as well. So, for example, going to the doctor, asking how my appointment, when's the next appointment available. So like some scripts as well. So scripting is something that's often used, isn't it, in aphasia therapy, but it has some scripts in there that people can use to support conversations around specific topics. And then Touch Chat also have one which is designed specifically for people with aphasia, and that organises different phrases and words by different categories. It has maps as well and rating scales. And I really like this feature called I'm Stuck. So when you click on it, it goes, I'm stuck. And then it goes, it's a person or it's a place, etc. And then it helps. It's designed to help the person get to the bottom of what they're trying to say. So a bit like that 20 questions kind of activity. Oh, it's a person or it's a place or it's a thing. It's about this person, etc. So trying to help that person get across their message. And then visual scene displays. I've already mentioned that, but this is just a little bit about what they're about and just a little bit for your own information about research about that visual scenes can support people with aphasia. There's less linguistic and cognitive demand, for example, but they can be a little bit more simpler. So it depends on the person. So, for example, it would be hard to use a visual scene to portray some things that we might convey in language. So talking about something you did at the weekend, like, you'd have to have lots of photos. It would be difficult to have that in just like a couple of visual scene displays. Some things like love, for example, would be hard to kind of get across in a visual scene because it's just a photo of a scene. I was hoping to go through some of these apps with you, but I think it's just gone really quick this hour. I'm really sorry. But
Gemma, if people are happy, you can continue for a little bit if you want. If you wanted to, well, it's been recorded, so that's fine. If people want to drop off and watch the recording, or if people want to stick around for a bit, that's fine. I mean,
it depends. I'm available for longer, but I didn't want to. If people needed to leave, I didn't want to hold.
I'm available, so
I'm available.
Okay. 15-20 minutes or so if you wish. Yeah, that's fine.
All right then. Okay, because it would be nice for you maybe to see some of these. And
hi, Gemma, sorry, could I just I'm ever so sorry, guys. I am going to have to head off now because I do have another thing at 11, but thank you so much. It's been so useful, and I'll catch up on the rest of it on the video afterwards, if that's okay.
Sure. Okay.
All
thank
right.
you so much. It was really nice to meet you as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I'll just share my screen then. Share my iPad screen. So I just need to connect to my iPad. Can you still see the team viewer that's just come up?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Is there any particular apps you'd like to look at from the ones we talked about? Would you like to see some of those aphasia ones?
Yeah, we have TD Snap on our iPads, which I've not used. Has anybody used TD Snap on the iPads? Be interesting to have a little look at that first, I suppose, and then Touch Chat.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, just gonna have to. For some reason, it's just the app's just closed. I don't know why. Just get that back. So connect. Allow. Why does it go? Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry. Team viewer. Connect. No. So I'll just try it. It was working this morning. I don't know. It's so connect, allow.
Is it because you're already sharing your screen? I'm just thinking.
Sure. I'll just try again. Sorry about this. Connect. Allow. Okay, I think it's. Oh, it keeps crashing. I don't know why.
Yeah. Just thinking maybe if you unshare your. Are you using a laptop now? But now you're looking to use an iPad. If you unshare your
I
laptop.
think it's just having some technical difficulties. I think I can. I'll just try one more time and then. Sorry about this. It was working this morning, so I don't know why this is. Okay, connect. Stop. Right, connect. I'll see if I can show you some videos instead. So my it's not playing. TD snap. Ooh. TD snap aphasia. Can you hear that?
No. No, sound's not working. I'll edit this bit out.
Thank you. Right. Oh, a minute, let me share. It's funny in Zoom, it does seem to not let you, it's not very easy to share things.
So you're not sharing now, Gemma, by the way.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to allow audio when I share. Shall I maybe send do you think you can share your audio if I send you the YouTube video?
Try.
Sorry.
I can try. Yeah, no, don't worry now. I can try.
So if I go to Zoom, and then if I put it in the chat. So this one I thought might be a nice one to look at.
Okay. Right.
I'll have a look and see if there's any others that would be
Fingers
useful.
crossed. But I'll just, oh, right. I'm just going to slow it down. It's trying to go straight. Stop. Right, so if I just try to share now, I've got a feeling the sound's not going to work.
I think you have to share the window and then share with audio.
Right. Right, share sound. Fingers crossed. Right, can you see that?
Yeah.
Right, fingers crossed.
Toby Dynavox is excited to bring
yes.
you the new Aphasia
you.
pages as part of the Snap Core First 1.10 release. These pages contain evidence-based tools to support communication for people with aphasia. The aphasia pages were developed through testing by people with aphasia, through research, and through clinical observation. The aphasia pages provide a collection of tools designed to support communication in daily life. Some tools, like the whiteboard and the rating scales, will be familiar and can easily be implemented right away. Through this video series, you will learn about these tools and more, and how they can be used to support speech and help communication when speech is difficult. In this video, I want to highlight some of the overall features of the aphasia pages. First, this is a support for adults. The symbols and topics were selected with the person with aphasia in mind. Second, this is a user-friendly AAC solution, even if you are less familiar with technology. You'll notice blank buttons throughout the aphasia pages to encourage adding personal content whenever possible. We encourage you to customize topics and quickfires, as well as word lists and more. Third, many people with aphasia have trouble attending to the right side of their visual field. Therefore, we avoided putting frequently used content on the right side of each page. As seen here in word lists, and here in visual scenes. Lastly, there are 3 grid sizes offered in the aphasia pages for Snap Core First. To access these grid sizes, select Edit, Page Set, then Grid Size. These sizes were included based on feedback from clinicians in the field and user testing. We know that people with aphasia do best with clean and simple designs, and these grid sizes provide the necessary tools and content without too much added complexity. Once you select the grid size that's right for you, you're ready to get started by selecting Done. Be sure to explore more videos to learn about each tool and how you can customize it to support communication interactions with people with aphasia.
So that is an example of an aphasia kind of specific vocabulary, but you don't have to just use those. They're just a suggestion because they're designed for people with aphasia in mind. But I sometimes might use something that's not aphasia kind of specific. It depends on the person and what overall will work better for the person. Yeah.
I had the second video on
So I wonder if you could show the third one, actually. I think the second one is more about scripts, which maybe I think maybe the third one, because it gives you another example from another company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aphasia Duo. I tried to find this in the App Store. I couldn't find it.
It's a Grid for iPad. The Aphasia Duo is actually the vocabulary within Grid for iPad.
Oh, Grid for iPad. Right. Okay. Right. Bear with me a second. I'm going to share this now. See that?
Aphasia Duo is a set of 2 symbol-supported vocabularies designed for people who have aphasia. You'll find a variety of tools and supports to make it easier to communicate and take part in everyday life. There's vocabulary to talk about a range of topics, including important subjects such as mental health, goal setting, and discharge planning. Try Aphasia Duo today with a free trial of Grid communication software.
Oh, it wasn't.
Aphasia Duo is a set of 2 symbol-supported vocabularies designed for people who have aphasia.
That's repeating it, isn't it? Is it or not? Am I wrong?
I thought it would have a bit more to it than that, but yeah, I think that's a very brief video, isn't it? Kind of highlighting some things, but yeah, there's a lot of things that Aphasia Duo has that's quite similar to TD Snap, like the visual scenes, the rating scales. So they're just different styles. I think it depends on the person. This is just to show you that there are apps out there that are designed, for people with aphasia, and that's something that we might explore in our assessments. But it might be helpful to have one of these in your kit, or it might be that you refer to us if you're thinking something like that is helpful.
Yeah. Do you think it makes sense for us to add Simbo Talk on then? Is that free?
Simbo Talk is free. Yes.
So we could. I'm just thinking if you're saying Let Me Talk is not being updated.
Yes, I think Simbo Talk potentially is a bit more up to date. I think Go Talk Now. I think there's a light version of Go Talk Now as well. I think so. Claricon, which you've got. Are you looking for more like the free ones at the moment?
I think so, because if we wanted anything specialist, we'd refer on to you guys, wouldn't we? I think that makes sense. I feel like.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. That makes sense. I've got a little bit of a shopping list. I'll just quickly share my screen again, and then I can show you that. Just got like you call it like a shopping list of ideas for things you could.
I think for us, it's about introducing people to this idea, isn't it? And obviously with the one-to-one support, if you introduce it, then hopefully people will come into our aphasia cafes.
Yes.
And then practice using it in a supported environment. Like we've got one person in Doncaster who's bringing it to the aphasia cafe there.
Yes.
And practicing using it, and that would be great if there's people that you guys are working with.
Yeah.
Get support.
So do you think your role is more like gathering the information to see whether they would benefit from our service? Yeah. And being aware of some of the options out there that maybe wouldn't meet our service criteria. So things like having access to paper-based systems, things like Go Talks might be useful, like battery-operated systems might be useful as well to.
Yeah. But then if people are relevant, because a lot of people that we will have worked with will have been through the NHS speech therapy team, won't they? You'd hope that they would have identified the need and would have referred already, wouldn't it? Do you think? And then when
maybe. I mean, I think there have been referrals that have come from your team speech therapist. So sometimes it might not be the case that they've been assessed by the speech, because I think sometimes people with aphasia, they're maybe seen at the beginning when they're in hospital, and they're maybe not so much in the community. I think that's my experience sometimes.
Yeah.
That I think it depends on the service, because some have more early supported, like some have more the early support, don't they? And then they don't necessarily do as much input after. So I don't think it would be guaranteed that the NHS speech therapist has looked at AAC. They might have been focusing more on therapy approaches, but I think it's good in your team to be thinking about it when you see people thinking, oh, actually, could they benefit from AAC?
Yeah.
would you refer to NHS speech therapy sometimes if you thought somebody needed support, or is it more that your own speech therapist would probably refer to us?
I think it'd probably be that our own would refer to you. I would think.
I think that's what's happened in the past, hasn't it? Because
Yeah.
Gemma's referred to us. She doesn't work in the NHS, does she? She just works for your service, and we've
She
accepted.
does now. Yeah, she does now. She does a bit of both. Bit of both.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think that's okay. Sometimes we don't accept referrals that are from a private speech and language therapist, but I think it depends. So I think because I think maybe it's to do with how that funding happens. So if it's like they're completely independent, like one speech therapist working with, that's a bit different, I think, to when you're a charity, or if it's like a school fund buy in the speech therapist. I think that's slightly different. So I think we probably would accept referrals just from your speech and language therapists. Yeah. So sorry about all the technical difficulties we've had today, and I'm sorry that we've ran over.
Okay, no, it's great. No, thank you very much for joining us, Gemma. Has anybody got any more questions for Gemma? Do you think we should add one of these paid-for communication aids onto our iPads? What do you think? Do you think we should? I mean, there's no reason why not. I always kind of saw us as an introduction to the idea, and then if relevant,
I think that would be fine. I think there's no need to get extra if you can refer to us. It's whether you think it would be useful to have, for as a tool in your cafe maybe, but you could replicate a lot of the features on paper-based to get an idea. So, for example, you could have some visual scenes printed out, or you could have a rating scale on a piece of paper, and then that could be again evidence to when referring to us, if you're thinking, oh, that person really benefits from, I think they benefit from an app, but these things in particular would be helpful. So I think it would be fine not to have something like that. Sometimes people do choose to have it just because they think it would be a useful resource, but I think that's what we're here for. The NHS is commissioned to help with things like this. So I think what you're doing sounds good to me, like having a text-based app and then a symbol-based one, and then using that to get an idea of whether somebody might benefit from a referral to our team. And then I guess if they don't meet our criteria, would it then be that you'd look at charities or look at the local speech therapist, the NHS speech therapist for funding?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, we would go to the Tavistock Trust for Aphasia as well. So we go to them for apps and stuff. So we could go to them. I don't think we ever have done for communication aids. Maybe we'd explore it with the local team, because you do have communication aid services in different areas, don't you? Like in Leeds, there's a communication aid service. Does every area have something like that? Or
no? So I think that's a really nice thing about in Leeds. They do, yes, they have that, but not every area does. It really depends. On the area. But if they didn't have that, you could maybe speak to the speech therapist, the NHS speech therapist, or charities.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you very much, Gemma. Thank you very much for
I'll send you the slides as well. Really nice to meet you all. I hope that's been helpful.
No, it has. Yeah. No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.